Let's get to the Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Speaking of magnifying on other guys, they both struggled last night. Ben just had 4 throw attempts all series, guys. Joel Embiid averaging 17 points per game in this series. That's 10 points fewer than what his regular season average is. So which of these two guys are you more worried about, Matt?
At the end of the day, it's playoff time. We don't want to hear excuses. You know, we know Joel is a tough player. He's battled through injuries his entire career, but the sickness, people want to hear about that. You know what I mean? But to me, who's more important right now is Ben Simmons, because he just needs to impose his will. I know Kyrie's guarding him, but Ben Simmons is also in charge of getting J.J. Redick going. And when J.J. Redick plays well, this team plays well. So I think, you know, obviously transition is really cut down and magnified in on the playoffs. But, you know, for Ben to be able to go out there, you know, had a couple tough games against Brooklyn. Obviously, this is a higher caliber team. But when he imposes his will and comes close to gets a triple-double every game, he gets everyone else involved, everyone else going. That's when they're at their best.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about Embiid for the simple fact that we know what Ben Simmons is going to give us. He hasn't added nothing to his game since he got in the league to me. I think he needs to add a jump shot, and I blame that on his coach for not holding him accountable. But we know what Jimmy's going to bring, the energy, the leadership, the fight, that dog in him that every player needs. But I'm worried about Embiid. He's the best player on the team. He's the only guy that gets doubled. They get a lot of shots off him, and he gets this team going. I just think Marc Gasol is in his head right now. Marc Gasol has the experience. He's been there. He's been in the league a long time. He's really using his size and his brain to get to Joel Embiid, and it's working right now. So I'm worried about Embiid being able to play to keep the series going.
I think it's mental toughness, too. You know what I mean? It's been well documented that, you know, the best players have played well, whether sick, hurt, in the playoffs. Right now, if you're on the floor, if you're well enough to be on the floor, that's all that matters.
That's what we always say.
You have to perform, and he's just not performing right now. And, like, whether it's Gasol in his head, you know, the fans are going crazy, and, you know, Drake is leading the charge, whatever. Right. You have to not – it's the playoff time. You know, you have to have that narrow focus in mind, and if he plays well, they win.
Right.
Plain and simple.
I agree with that, because I'm not sure Marc Gasol is in his head. I mean, he ran all over Marc Gasol in Game 3. He knows that he can have the advantage on Marc if he's feeling like himself. I can't say that the sickness is getting in his head, because I don't know to the degree, like maybe he can't breathe so much because they say it's a lung infection or whatever. So I don't know how much is mental or physical, but that's clearly to me what's bothering him.
I just think it's mental. You know, like I said, whether it's hard to breathe, being sick sucks. You know, I got 3 little boys and I'm getting sick all the time and I hate it. So I know how tough it is. But like I said, this is the time to shine. There's no excuse. You know, you could be sick in 2 weeks sitting at home. Yeah. Right now's the time to go. And he has to go.
He could be sick sitting at home sooner.
He ain't as sick as MJ in the flu game, so you'll be all right.
We had Scotty here talking about that yesterday, for sure. Let's get to Kawhi Leonard, though, because you guys have both been so impressed with him. Career high, 31 points per game this postseason. And Stak, you overlapped in San Antonio with Kawhi, his rookie and sophomore year in the league. What do you think about what's gotten into him here?
Well, I saw this. The same thing Pop saw in him. I saw when I first got there, when I went back. The kid was special. I mean, I had talks with him. He kind of gravitated to me because he seen that, you know, I was kind of an outsider when I was there. Yep. And he felt that same type of way. He didn't want to go down that straight path as the rest of the Spurs player. You know, he wanted to wear his braids and do stuff a little different, and we kind of gravitated each other. But I remember one thing he told me we was working out. He told me, I want to be one of the best players to ever play this game. And
that early.
That early. And he always approached the game that way. So I'm not surprised, Rach. I knew he was being held back in San Antonio. I was held back my first 2 years there, so I knew he was being held back, and I knew that he can do these things. We are talking about a Finals MVP. So going to Toronto was great for him. Anytime you go to a new team, it's a new breath of fresh air. But I knew he can dominate. I'm not surprised at all, Rich.
I think people forgot how good Kawhi was when he had to take the whole year off. Right. And I'm glad he took the year off, because too often guys rush back and re-injure stuff. So he took a whole year off, but when healthy, top 3 in the world, and to me, hands down, the best two-way player in the game. I remember with the Clippers, we battled San Antonio 2 times in the playoffs and battled him, and I was the one guarding him, realizing that this kid is a problem. Yeah. It's going to be a problem, and I think he doesn't get his due cause because he's not flashy. He's just very efficient. He's
wearing New Balance.
He's not crossing people over. He's not doing windmill dunks. He's not doing all the fancy stuff that ooh and ah people, but he's just going out there shooting efficiently and getting buckets.
I mean, the efficiency is crazy.
Here.
He's I believe
Shaq, right? Only him and Shaq.
Yep, and that even in the first 10 games, if you look at everyone's first 10 games of a postseason, that he's the only one ever who's gotten more than 300 points on 200 shots or less. It's insane. I will say, though, he is partly responsible for why he is not in the conversation about best player in the league for most of the year. Right. You miss a quarter of your team's games. People aren't going to put you in that same category, but it's interesting to me because, again, top of the show, it's the postseason that counts, right? That's what you guys all care about. So I wonder if more players are going to be like, well, maybe I'll give my body a quarter of a season to rest too, and I can do this in the playoffs.
That was just his situation. That was just his situation. Coming off the quad and all that stuff, I think they wanted to be real careful with it. I don't think next season he'll approach it the same way. I think he'll play way more regular season games because he does want to play the game. But this season, coming into postseason healthy, I think that was his main focus. I think he'll get through the whole season next year.
I don't mind him sitting out if this is what he's going to give me in the playoffs.
Right.
You know what I mean? If this is what Kawhi's going to give me in the playoffs, if this is his regular standard, I'm not mad because, like you said, this is when it counts. You know, this is your franchise player now, and you want him to be his best now. And if that takes sitting 20, 25 games out during the regular season to be fresh every single game, I'm taking that as a GM and a president.
He looks good, that's for sure.